I have a particular inclination to show a lot of love to the healers, and healers that are more African conscious, healers as in shamans, healers of TCM, traditional Chinese medicine, or Asian healers. Healers. I'm more inclined to really to go to a healer. I'm not even more inclined. I am somebody who seeks advice from healers, and for any well-being, I go to healers. I personally, with my free will, in a country that says that, freedom of choice is an allowance, with my personal free will, I go to healers. So if I felt as if my mind needed fine-tuning, or if I had endured a significant amount of trauma, or there were particular events or experiences in my life that I was having some blockages with, that I was needing some assistance for, I'm not so egotistical to say that I don't need assistance. It's a matter of I don't need assistance from who you're telling me to get assistance from. So let's get that off the table. I can't be more adamant than that. I will never go see a psychotherapist. I will never go see a psychologist or a psychiatrist, because I don't believe in what they do. And I believe that it is too Westernly tied. And I do not see, with the push of psychotherapy being a field that is relatively new, let's be clear, it's a field that really erupted in the 1950s, the mid-1950s, and it's living and breathing. And some people look at that as a great thing, and some people think that that's a little questionable. There are so many diagnoses. Every single person, there are 7.8 billion, they say, people on the planet. I can guarantee you I can diagnose every single human being with at least one diagnosis. That's how many there are. There are so many. You're certain to fit into one, at least one. Probably majority of people would be diagnosed with multiple things. We have to ask ourselves, what is considered normalcy? What is considered irrational? What is considered wellness, and what is considered unwellness? Is it coming from, has it been defined by people who have no knowledge of your culture, of who you are? Are you holding yourself to their standards? Are you subjecting yourself? Because this is really how I see it. You're subjecting yourself to people who have a vested interest in dominating you. What does that mean? That means that in order to dominate you, I have to let you know that the way that I think and the way that I see the world, it trumps the way that you think and the way that you see the world. To dominate you, I have to reinforce by any means necessary that I am right and that makes you wrong, because we both can't be right if we're different. To me, this is what psychotherapy embodies and represents. I come from a culture that you guys will look at as insane. I have a grandmother who was using bushes and wet mud, what people would say is voodoo. We do voodoo in our culture, straight up. We do voodoo, what you would categorize as voodoo. We do that. So I'm not looking to you from your Western perspective to qualify what you consider valid. And I'm less inclined to do it because of what I see society has become. 1950s, mid-1950s, this field was something that erupted. We are dealing with the aftermath of this field 70 plus years later, but I can't say that as a society that is now bought into this whole mental health thing, I can't say we're any better off. Another issue is it's living and breathing. When diagnosis first came in up for discussion in the 1950s, There were so many less diagnoses than there are now. I mean, so many less. But one thing that was in there that has been taken out is homosexuality. Homosexuality was considered an illness, a mental illness, a psychosis, when the field first began. They've taken homosexuality out as a psychosis. This is not coming from anything but data and facts. You can look it up. So when the field first started, if you were gay or if you were transgender, you were diagnosed with a psychosis. Today, that is no longer diagnosed as a psychosis. So we understand that the people that are in charge of saying what is considered normal and what is considered abnormal, what is considered crazy and what is considered non-crazy, have, it's not something that's so fixed. And that can be concerning and alarming on a lot of different levels. Because if you are relying on people for your mental health and your mental well-being and your emotional health and your emotional well-being, what they tell you is wrong today could be right tomorrow. You're like, time out. I just took drugs off of what was wrong yesterday and is right today, and now I got a whole addiction based off of something that your studies now have proven to be. I mean, are you willing to put your hands in those types of people? So no, I will never, ever go to a psychiatrist or a psychologist, because the main difference is one can prescribe drugs, and I will never ever take any drugs of any kind, not even prescription drugs at all. I'm very content with the way that I think. I very much like the way that my mind works. I very, very much love how I operate in my life, and I love my perspective. I love my mind. But for the categories that I do need assistance with, I will not be going to a Western psychotherapist. I totally believe in healers. And I totally believe in healers in the sense that when I go to a healer, I go to a healer with a total sense of respect based off of me assessing the healer, doing my research, and I have no blockages when I approach a healer. And this is really what the premise of this conversation is about. A lot of you go alongs to get alongs. You go to the doctor, you go to the physician, and the physician is God to you. The physician can basically tell you your fate. The physician can tell you how many months you have to live. The physician can diagnose you and tell you if it's terminal or not. You believe that the doctor is God. You believe that that doctor knows more about you than you know about yourself, even though you've been living with yourself for 20 years, 30 years, 50 years, 60 years, 70 years. You put so much faith in the doctor. And this isn't to discredit doctors or whatever. I have somebody that I am very close to who is one. But I go to healers. Why? Because doctors and physicians and people in Western medicine have a very close relationship with pharmaceutical companies. And the pharmaceutical business is very lucrative. We live in a society that has a vested interest in keeping people sick because it is profitable to do so. Some people call America godless. I'm not going to go ahead and this is not what this conversation is about. Whether America is godless or whether America is not godless. Bottom line is, when you put profit over people, then money is your God. Money is who you answer to. Making money is who you answer to. You don't answer to God. Now, the spiritual healers that I know would never, ever, ever do that, because their work is tied into their spirituality, and they understand the karmic effects that they would bring into their lives by putting profit over people. Therefore, their incentive, because their incentivized less by, and this is not to say that of course they have bills, and of course it costs to get healed and all those things. They'll charge you for their services. But guess what? The spiritual consequences of them messing with your mind or not healing you when they can, or anything like that aren't worth it to them. They are unwilling to inherit that karmic debt. When you answer to a higher power and it's more than just the profit, you will not do things that will chip away from your spiritual bank account. It is not worth it to them. Many of the people that go to them, because they've been so indoctrinated into Western medicine that's been programmed to them literally since like they were a baby. They were born in a hospital. The first thing that they saw were doctors. The first people that held them were nurses. Their mother got an epidural. They, got their shots as a baby. They were programmed into modern medicine from the time that they took their first breath. So the deprogramming is part of the work that the healers are having to deal with. Whereas you've got some people that will go to their doctor and whatever the doctor says is law and gospel, that doctor is God. But time out. The healer, you need to know all of the ingredients and the things in the herbs that they're telling you to take. And you don't ask the pharmacist what the ingredients are in those prescriptions. You just take those drugs. How many people are taking prescription drugs and they do not know the ingredients of what they're taking? They have no clue what they're putting inside of their body. They just know that their doctor told them to do so. Oh, well, doctors are ruled by certain things. They have to take the Hippocratic Oath and there are certain regulations. Stop it. How many times are you watching TV and this drug gets recalled? That drug gets recalled. After my research, you may be subjected to you may have this type of ache, type of pain, this side effect. Things get recalled all the time. All the time. So just stop it. The things that you require of the doctor, you don't require of the healer. You're blocking your own healing. You are preventing your own healing because of a hindrance in your mentality that is already built up that is not allowing you to fully trust that healer. You don't really have true 100% faith in that healer like you have in your doctor. So when you're like, oh, the herbs didn't work or whatever, you didn't really want the herbs to work. Because you had to do the work yourself to purge the indoctrination of Western medicine before you even really approached that healer. You were way too riddled in Western, you were way too, and I'm not discrediting modern medicine. I'm not discrediting that there are things in modern medicine that are very advantageous, of course. But if we want to break this down from a spiritual level, that book that you go to church on Sunday, that Bible that you say is your guide, certainly you do away with it when you're at the doctor and the doctor is now your God. But does that Bible not say that there's a natural cure for everything? A natural cure for everything. So why are you not following that book when it comes to applying that knowledge that you receive from that book for your healing? Truthfully, having somebody in the medical field who's really very scientific and very much Western medicine oriented, and I say that that's fine. I say if it works for you, that's fine. I'm very much a respecter of free will. I try my best to not be a hypocrite or double-minded, because the same amount of respect that I require for my relationships, I give that respect. So this is your chosen work. That is fine. This is what you've chosen to do. That is fine. Everyone is entitled to think the way that they want, to value what they want, to prioritize what they want. I don't have intellectual elitism or dominance. I just choose what works best for me. I'm quiet as a church mouse if I'm around a shaman or somebody who's mastered traditional Chinese medicine or African-centered healer, to soak up that knowledge, because they have knowledge about things that I don't have knowledge about. I'm not going to go to a TCM, a traditional Chinese healer, just to poke flaws in their remedies. I'm not going to go to a shaman to poke around to find out what it is that they do just to discredit their remedies. No, may you be your way and may me be mine. And so, I'm not here to discredit Western medicine. We all are operating off free will, and constantly, when you hear me discuss these matters, you will always hear me say free will, free will, free will, free will. It is your free will to, if you are unbothered, right? If you are unbothered by whatever it is, if you have categories of your life that you don't feel like need fine tuning, then you don't need to fine tune those things. If you wake up, you're feeling happy, you're feeling good, you're good with your life, you're good with how you feel, why do you need to seek help when you're happy? You're drug free, you're good. So I'm not going to impose my way on you, because I feel like that's trampling on God's feet. And then we're getting into a category of being blasphemous. And that's just something that I don't do. I respect God way too much to not respect an individual's free will. I don't play God. I don't have a God complex. I have absolute, utter reverence and fear of my God, my Lord, my Savior. I put all my faith in God. I realize I am nothing and no one without God. I'm all about recognizing the majesty and the divinity and the capability of God, that I personally, as just a human being, I'm not capable of being godlike. Even challenges, I have to give those challenges to God. Glory, I give to God. Praise, I give to God. Worship, I give to God constantly. I ask God every morning to keep me in a state of gratitude and taqwa, God consciousness. I just want to think about God. I'm obsessed with God. It's all about God for me. So to even try to play God, as small as I am as a human being, with my myopic knowledge, the little bit of knowledge that I've obtained in this lifespan, when God is everlasting, all-knowing, all-seeing, I'm very humbled by just the imagination, just the very thought of God. I don't have the audacity, the desire, or even an inkling to ever play God. There's so much out there that I don't know. It's humbling to know how much I don't know. So I would never, ever, ever be egotistical to even try to play God. But you got to understand, you're going to get your ass handed to you by trying to play God. Suppose you're trying to play God to a child of God. That's going to be a problem in God's eyes. God's going to have to step in and show who's the boss. So when we talk about medicine and we talk about God in healing and medicine and all of these things, a stigma with doctors is that they have a God complex. A lot of times, you may meet a doctor. A lot of times these doctors are very arrogant, very, very arrogant. Some of them are, some of them aren't. But the respect of free will is a main thing. That's the main characteristic when it comes to God. And so respecting someone's free will is respecting their privacy, respecting their opinion, respecting their way of life. Just a total respect. And for me, it serves me because when I go into different cultures, I'm always embraced. It's love. If I travel, you go to certain countries, Americans will tell you, oh, don't go. Before I went to Paris, I was told by an American, oh, the Parisians are assholes. They're arrogant. They're horrible. I said, I went there. I was embraced. It was delightful. The energy that I received was awesome. Maybe the energy that you're getting is because you have an elitist, intellectual snob, superiority, complex, arrogant attitude. Maybe that's the energy that you get when you go into these foreign countries. You think you come from superpower America. You think that these people have no knowledge. You think that these people, and you're giving that energy off. What do you think you're going to get? I'm not begging you to enjoy your life. I love the experience of being open-minded and open-hearted and the love that I get from different people, in the sense of that when they feel your energy and they feel your genuinity, they show you love. You can go about life trying to play God, trying to think you know everything, and go in life and you go into these third world nations with your arrogance and your cocky attitude. I'm not begging you to come down to earth. I'm not begging you to do that. On a side note, it's more of an offense in God's eyes when someone's speaking their truth than somebody who's violating that person's privacy. So if you want to judge somebody about their opinion and speaking their truth, that's up to you. But understand that the greater offense of that, rather than somebody's opinion, will be the invasion of their privacy.